So, welcome Vinita. Thank you so much for your time. I want to start off with the first question, which is what resonated with CH2? Why are you here?
That's a very good question because I honestly don't connect unless I feel there is genuinity in something. And here, when I came, I met you and I met Patan and the whole staff in general, and the place by itself, the colors that you use, and everything is so organic, natural, free flowing. And what I felt was that you people are not into this for just business. You really mean to do something genuinely for me. And that is what resonates with me. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. And intention matters the
Absolutely.
most, right? And I think same thing. So when I also meet so many trainers, healers, masters from various fields, the key is intention. If the intention is there, everything follows.
Yeah.
So I think that is what matched, and that's the most important. Great. So I have so many questions for you, and let's begin with. So we work with a lot of patients, right? And inflammation is one of the key problems everyone is suffering with. Not even patients, right? Even the air today that we breathe, right from the water, whatever we are putting in our mouths, everything somewhere is a reason. And I don't think it's only about people with ailments. Everyone does feel inflammation. So first question is, what is inflammation? Second, what are the signs in the body that one can understand that, oh, maybe this is inflammation? And third, how either diseases come out of inflammation or inflammation is a big part of any of the diseases.
Yeah, so before I start answering your question, something very funny came to my mind. I realized like about 6 months back or maybe a year back, suddenly inflammation became a very big name everywhere. You know, because of who? Vidya Balan. She lost weight because her nutritionist told her you have inflammation. So suddenly I started seeing a lot of people, who were obese talking about inflammation. But to tell you in very basic layman's terms, I don't want to go into technical words for explaining. Inflammation is body's way of protecting that organ or that part which is not so good at the moment. So we have these fighter cells in the body. We have, all the cells are doing different functions, right? So whenever there is a problem, the fighter cells become active and then they start gathering around wherever they perceive there is a problem. In basic layman's terms, that is inflammation. So inflammation can, earlier everybody thought inflammation was when we had some redness, some soreness, some swelling, some water retention that people saw or some pus. But these are just one part of what is real inflammation. Inflammation is depicted by the body in many ways. Even pains, aches and pains are because of some inflammation. Sinuses because of inflammation. Most of the diseases are because of inflammation. So when beyond a point, our parasympathetic nervous system becomes dull and sympathetic takes over, that's when inflammation happens. Very basic ones. So it could be in any form. So people with diabetes, hypertension, CVD, cardiovascular diseases, then cancer, all are different aspects of inflammation in the body. So one should be very, very watchful of what your body is telling you actually. All the time, being connected with yourself, because that's when it tells you that there's something not right and I need to deal with this.
So the body awareness is a very good point that you brought up, and so in my personal journey of the health crisis and all that happened, that is what I actually learned. That listening to your body, which we don't listen to because we're so in the outside that we are not even connected. And so that's been my journey. But then now that I see people, like someone was talking about urticaria, that she's just been diagnosed with urticaria. And my question was that, okay, what happens in that? So she gets rashes and everything, and so then they just jump to solutions, right? Okay, there's some medicine, there's anti-allergy, there's this, that, whatever. So my first question to her was that, all right, yes, you get those rashes, but have you observed what are your triggers? And she went blank. Said, we need to first understand when this is happening, why this is happening, and then just some self-reflection in the past that day, couple of days earlier. And I met her again just yesterday, and she said, dairy. I was having cold coffee in the morning. So we generally don't push into solutions, right? I just asked her to observe, and she came back on her by herself that I actually observed, and then I had my cold coffee in the morning like regular. The next day I skipped it. Then again I skipped it the second day, and third day it was confirmed that, oh yes, I did not get it. And then again she tried on the fourth day just to experiment. She's like, yeah, again I got it. So those basics are missing in terms of mind-body connection, that awareness.
Big way.
Right? And how does that contribute to stress, or how does stress get multiplied because of this not being aware?
Yeah, so like taking this girl's example with urticaria, if suppose she had continued to ignore, it would have blown up into another level, completely another level. So I'm glad she met you and you told her to observe. Like even I ask people to write down for 1 week what they eat, for every little thing that they put in their mouth, to their sleeping patterns. Just write down what you are up to. And then they discover themselves what are the allergens, what are the triggers, which obviously they are not aware of. Like if we really talk about ourselves also, if we start eating something, the first bite that we put in our mouth, and that's why they say focus on the food, take deep breaths before eating, because when you start eating, you'll realize the first bite will give you some indication whether your body is liking it or not liking it. And you are ignoring because you are either chatting or you're on your mobiles, or these days the distractions are too many.
Or you just like eating that, so
you
just keep eating.
Exactly, like
For the
yes, exactly. So these symptoms obviously are small symptoms to start with, but they can grow into any disease. This could have gone into any skin disease or anything else. Inflammation. I mean, this was the way of her body telling her that, look, your sympathetic system is taking over.
Yeah.
So sympathetic system ultimately also can take care for some time, but when it is on all the time, when will the repairs happen? When are the organs getting time to take a real breather? That doesn't.
So then the diseases come in, yeah.
I think the overall learning has always been that, our bodies are miraculous. Our body knows how to heal itself. It's just that we don't give it enough time and space to do it. We want to do a lot of things. Something happened, you start doing something about it. The only thing is, give it time and space, and it actually happens. And the problem is, so we'll come to that next question on stress and the flight and fight responses, right? So the problem is, not doing means getting out of action, pausing. And I've observed, and of course been there personally also, that pausing means you're not growing, everything is stopping. So pausing is a no-go. It's like, oh, that's first sign of failure if you're pausing.
Yeah.
So how can you share a little more about that in terms of how being in that fight and flight mode all the time, or the active mode all the time, and that it turns into various diseases of all forms?
Yeah, so again, going back to before I come to this, you just said pausing. Now the governments are realizing at their level. Like in our country also, I don't know if you read that Prime Minister Modi's message on Diwali was all about, was so much about health also, right? In Netherlands, I'm forgetting the term they use for just doing nothing. Like, why should we be doing something all the time, right? And when we put a pause to something, that's when these things come around and we understand what's okay, what's not okay for us. In terms of relationships, in terms of food, in terms of what we are doing. But that's what is really missing. And if our parasympathetic nervous system is not activated through stress management, through right lifestyle, through right foods, through right exercises, the sympathetic cannot run for very long. Then ultimately everything just crashes. And then we say, oh, one fine day, how did we get this? But I was exercising, but I was doing something. Yes, you could be exercising, you could be eating the right things according to you, but maybe your body wasn't accepting those. Maybe your body wanted something different than what you thought you need. Another problem, Priyanka, I see is Google Doctor.
No chat.
Yeah, so millions of videos, millions of answers, but I always say they are not wrong. They are right, but they don't know your system. There are millions and millions of permutation combinations of health and emotions. So what you are made of, obviously they don't know. So how will one answer fit everything? One medicine cannot fit everybody. So so we have to just pause and delve into, where this is coming from, right? Otherwise, parasympathetic will just be dull for some time. The organs will not repair. Then problems like what I have seen is fatty liver. It starts with fatty liver. It also starts with insulin resistance, big way. It starts with oxidative stress. When all these things happen, obviously problems arise. To give you one example, if suppose somebody says my cholesterol is high, right? And the first thing that most of the people would be suggested, or they would think themselves, I think I need to start on statins. Now statins, there is a big war against statins these days, right? People say, oh, we shouldn't take statins because it's going to harm this way and that way. But the doctor's logic is that sometimes you just have to, right? But before thinking about why your cholesterol went up, or why your LDL went up, or why your triglycerides are high, can we just reflect a little bit on our emotional health? Can we reflect on the foods we are eating? Then connecting them to, are those foods suiting us? Like this girl's case we were talking of, taking cold coffee. Yeah, it may be okay, but it's not suiting her. Maybe she's lactose intolerant. Maybe the cold thing in the morning is just increasing her dryness in the body, right? So we don't know. We need to analyze and understand that. Then insulin resistance happens, and then oxidative stress happens, and they give rise to problems. All the diseases of today's time, lifestyle diseases, are because of these things. We may have inherited genetically few diseases, but it all depends on our lifestyle, which one gets activated or which one lays down. Like I've seen most of the times people say, oh, but this is genetic. I have this thing, thyroid in my family, or I have arthritis in my family. Yes, but it was your body's choice to take them, make them active, or just keep them dormant, right?
Yeah. Now, coming back to, so food, right, is a big part of who we are, right? And food is actually medicine, right? It's the thing that's giving us energy, and we're keeping us alive as well. So diet, nutrition, a lot of awareness has happened in this, thankfully. Right now, people are becoming mindful of doing something right. Now, knowing is one thing, but doing is where the magic lies, and that has been the whole idea of creating CH2 also. Right? You can learn a lot of things. You can read up, you can research, you can do everything, but knowing is only here. But when
Putting
you need
it into practice.
yes, putting it into practice is where the biggest challenge lies. Right? Maybe 10-15 years back, knowledge itself was a problem. People didn't know. I was one of them, right? Like, I didn't know. I thought that postpartum 6 kilo, no, not 6, I had put on some 15 kgs, I was overweight. And I stayed with 15 kg overweight for 6 years after delivering. One, myth, it's hereditary. My mom kept on putting on weight after every C-section that she had. I also went through that, so that's about it. And second, even if I came to that point that maybe I need to do something about it, because I could feel that I'm getting tired and all that, my quality of life was going. So then the question was how? And I somehow felt that this diet and all, I don't know how it's done, but thankfully Fitter came into my life, and it truly changed. I did things consistently, and within 6-8 months I did some research earlier, so it was more of keto, which I did very consistently for 3.5 months without a single cheat.
Wow.
And I lost, as I cut like 14 kgs, I was down. I did feel very good, my energy was very good, but then I got into that loop of now if I have even one chapati, my entire weight will come back. And that is where I got stuck, that phobia. And that's when the question started coming, that how do I now continue, because it's not sustainable. And that's when Fitter as a community came in, and then that entire carb phobia went off, and I went into quantified nutrition and all of that, which really helped me. So then weight was never a problem. Like, I knew the basics were sorted, I knew everything. Then came the health journey, where I was working out, I was eating right, I was doing everything right, but then because of the tumor and all that massive inflammation, that is when this question started coming in, that why is it not working for me anymore? Weight-wise, I'm perfect, no problem there. But then the heat intolerance and all the symptoms, why were they increasing? And that also has been the key to CH2 and the self-observation and everything. So why don't you tell me more about how food works as medicine, and not the diet part, but food in general?
Okay, so food in general really works as medicine, and I really pray that we all realize that, and sooner we realize, the better it is for us, because then we won't get into the path of falling unwell or getting onto medications. Right now, food per se, as you said, that you were eating right and you were exercising, you were doing everything right, but you still got inflammation, which again goes back to the same thing we were talking some time back about. Maybe something you were not listening to, right? Your body was telling you something, that some bit of the whatever regime you followed was not right for you. Now, food is not about just what you are eating. Food is about the quality, the quantity, and the time. These three things are very important about food. Now, in some cases, we suggest that, don't have non-veg, for example. Now, it's not easy for people to give up non-veg, who love non-veg, correct? But then, how do you ensure that you eat the right kind of non-veg? Or you get that flavor of non-veg because you crave for it? Then, what time you eat, the quantity you eat, all those things make a big difference. So coming back to the quality of food, right? Earlier, all food that we got in our country was good, right? Everywhere the food was good. It was grown in organic soil. The soil was full of nourishment, of micronutrients, which sadly it is deprived of. Before one layer of one crop of whatever vegetables or fruits is cut, the other layer is planted. In some countries like Switzerland, I have heard that there's some lands which are left to breathe, to regain their micronutrients before the next plantation is done. So now, if somebody says that I eat spinach, example, every day, or I eat carrots or whatever every day, but the soil it's coming from, the pollution the plants are exposed to while being grown, then how it is brought to you, how it is cut, all that matters. How many days it's been there in the transit, the way it's been transported, with what it is washed, what kind of water it is washed before it's out there to sell, right? So we have to turn to organic food. Everybody has to. And turn to farmers who are still who have started following some ethical organic practices. Now, what I hear most of the time is, which is right, that people say, but how do you know this is organic? How do you know this is this has followed ethical practices? Yes, you are right, but my logic is that even if it is 50% less of chemicals, I mean, these farmers we talk to, we understand the way they grow things and about the transportation, everything. But even if the soil had 50% less, that's the 50% less that's going on, not going right in us, right? So we save that. Then the grains, organic grains. Now we are lucky to have lots of companies who are doing these organic, ethical work with the grains, the flours, right? Then coming to the quantity of food, right? So again, if you had, say, a bowl of spinach earlier, the kind of nutrition that went in that, through that, was different versus what you are getting now because of all these things. So then again comes to the quantity of what you are eating. So if I want to get a certain amount of a particular vitamin or mineral in my system, how much of it should I eat? That becomes very important. And then the time. The third thing very important is the time. So if you have inflammation, then what should be your timings to eat without compromising on your quantity of food, or without compromising on the timings of your food? Because if you don't get your nourishment, the inflammation will go up because your body is not getting what it needs. So it will start rebelling. It will start showing up in different ways. So how do I eat lesser, but my nourishment is double of what I would eat if I had a plate full of food? So consistency of keeping this pattern on, and also what is very important is not to sacrifice too much of your tastes. Like if you've grown up eating certain foods in a certain way, can we still eat those foods? Because that's going to help us in being consistent. If we go on some fad diets, for short term, yes, they are good. They are meant to be good. But then you cannot go back. I haven't heard of anybody who's, I mean, at least not me, in my circle of people who have been keto for life. I know serious ones who took on keto, did it for years, couple of years, but then they gave up. It's not sustainable.
It brings me to food and emotions, right? It's a very strong interconnection, right? If I'm not happy with what I'm eating, doesn't matter whatever that is, however nutritious also, but it doesn't work. So what are your thoughts on that?
So yes, I 100% agree on that. That's why I said it's very important to get that taste. So remember I was sharing with you one day, if you wanted methi matar malai, right? So instead of adding malai, which is definitely not a good fat, I would suggest add some
As a
sesame.
the Tetra Pak wali malai.
Whichever one, even Ghar ka malai people say. But then there are alternatives to get that creaminess, that thickness in your methi matar, right? Methi is good, matar is good, but the way it is cooked is what matters. So to bring that creaminess, we have two options. One is you can put little almond paste, like almond butter, which is just pure almond butter. Now luckily we have brands where they are doing these activated almond butters, which is even more healthier. Then you can add sesame, again activated sprouted sesame paste. It is so delicious, trust me, Priyanka, and you get the same taste. So you're not giving up on the food.
True. So that's what we call lifestyle management, right? That
Yes.
you do the right things, but how do you do it consistently and tweaking certain things and getting benefits out of
Exactly.
it? That's sustainable.
Because once your taste buds are satisfied, your emotions, what you were talking of, will also be happy, right? You will be a happy person while eating what you are eating, correct? So then it can be consistent. You can continue having this kind of food forever. In fact, very slowly we realize that it becomes part of you, your system. You don't have to tell yourself, okay, I'm on this diet. Right? You just manage couple of things on day-to-day basis. So then it's not difficult. It can be your lifestyle thing, and once in a while, if we break this rule, once in a while, if we go out and eat something which is fried outside, it is fine. But then, see, the body can take that for some time. But if we eat that day in and day out, there is a rebellion. Yeah. So that is what is important.
So why don't you quickly tell me a little bit about yourself also? Where is all of this coming from?
Okay, so again, like you, Priyanka, I've always been very passionate about health, right? I remember this right from the time I was small. I think I've seen my mother follow a few things at home. I've seen my father follow a very Ayurvedic way of living. With food especially. I remember him talking of combination of foods and all. So it was there at the back of my mind. And then after I got married and I had children, then again I was like, oh, I need to bring up my children in a certain way. So then again I started using certain things in my house for my children. And then I fell out there. This is about 15 years back. I used to have really bad dips of blood pressure, and then suddenly after some time my blood pressure started going up. So fluctuation in my blood pressure, and I was getting these splitting headaches, and I was just not well. And I like to be active, and then one day I just sat in my balcony and I said to myself, is this the life I want to lead, or should I do something different? And that's when my turnaround happened, and I started reading. And that's the time my son encouraged me. He was in US and he was having access to the best universities, literature and health. He said, you should start getting this, and this has been your passion. Why don't you take this up as a profession? That's when I got into this journey, and then I realized that it's very easy to actually turn around your health. And when I experimented on myself, so everything that I talk of is first experimented in my family, on myself. And that's when I am able to, I don't have to convince people with anything, then they understand I may be talking some sense.
Experience is the key. Once you
Yeah.
experience something, then the conviction is already there.
Yeah.
You don't have to convince anyone. Yes.
So I don't have to all the time think about what is being cooked, because now the helpers at home are trained to it and everything goes around. But when I go for weddings, I go for parties, I know what I need to eat before I go there, what I need to do over there, how I plate my food. I just take care of these small things,
Yeah.
but I eat everything. once in a while. And then, it's been a good journey with the people I've been able to help so far. And when they come back and tell you they've benefited and they are out of their illnesses, and the doctors get surprised when they see their blood markers improving, that gives me an encouragement to just continue being passionate about what I'm doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the insights.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to do.
Super.